What's good, everybody? Glad to see you back. Welcome to another episode of Horror Lore. And this one, we're going to go to East New York. And we're going to hang out with somebody named HARVEY MARCELIN. March 3rd, 2022, 1:45 a.m. in the area of Atlantic Avenue and Pennsylvania Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. A man was walking and stumbled across a grocery cart with a bag in it. The bag was multicolored and had a floral design on it. Started pushing the cart, thought he's going to keep it, until he decides, I'm going to throw this bag out. It's probably just full of shit. Thought it was just garbage. So he goes to remove the bag, opens up this bag, and inside finds the dismembered torso of an adult female. Clearly, the police are notified. They showed up on scene at the area of Atlantic Avenue and Pennsylvania Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. They scoured the area to see if they could come across any other further human remains. They turned up empty. What they did notice, though, is this area was heavily monitored by CCTV. Everywhere from the streets to local shops to homes, this place was littered with surveillance. So the police began a very extensive and thorough investigation relying solely on the surveillance in the area. Now, while police were doing their investigation looking into the surveillance, not far from where the torso was found, two women were spotted on camera a few days prior, on February 27, 2022, walking together entering an apartment building in East New York. One of these women was carrying the multicolored bag with the flower decal that the torso ended up later being found in. Now, after the police saw the two women on surveillance enter that apartment on February 27, 2022, no one exited that apartment for a couple days. And when someone did exit a couple days later, it was only one of the women carrying out that multicolored bag with the floral design in it, putting it in a cart, and wheeling it out of the building. Police began following the woman caught on surveillance, wheeling the cart out with the floral bag. No shit. Following her movements around on surveillance. And during following the suspect around on surveillance, the suspect was caught entering a local 99-cent store using a motorized scooter. Okay, now get this. At one point, the suspect stood up out of the motorized scooter, and underneath them when they were sitting was a dismembered human leg in a bag that was dismembered from the knee down. So this suspect is just cruising around with limbs on an electric scooter. Now that police have surveillance footage of the suspect leaving that apartment with the multicolored bag that the torso was found in, as well as the suspect riding dirty on an electric scooter with a leg under their ass in a dollar store, they had enough probable cause to execute a search warrant on that apartment on Pennsylvania Avenue. So on March 4th, 2022, the NYPD, New York Police Department, executed a search warrant at that apartment. And inside the apartment, they found a dismembered human head. That's always lovely. And they made an arrest, and they arrested a suspect. And that suspect is HARVEY MARCELIN. So on March 4th, 2022, the New York Police Department arrested HARVEY MARCELIN and charged her with second-degree murder, criminal tampering with evidence, and concealment of a human corpse. And following HARVEY's arrest, a few days after, on March 7th, 2022, on Jamaica Avenue, a human leg was found in and amongst the trash. So for the past week, in East New York, police have just been finding body parts. And this is all thanks to HARVEY. The police thank you. The NYPD were able to identify the woman on the surveillance that entered the apartment with HARVEY, as well as the remains, as the same woman. They were identified as 68-year-old Susan Leyden, a woman from New York who was reported missing around the end of February by concerned loved ones. So at the time that her remains were identified, she was actually a missing person with the NYPD. And her relationship with HARVEY, through the investigation, it revealed that they knew each other through social media. That's where they met, and that's where they maintained the majority of their relationship and friendship was means of social media. So it is unsure if they had had a lot of personal encounters prior to Susan's murder and dismemberment, or if this is the first time, because it seems that mostly it was online where the two conversed. So now, who is our suspect, Harvey Marceline? Harvey is an 83-year-old transgender woman in New York. Harvey has also spent over 50 of his 83 years in prison. For what? Murder. Twice. No bloody shocker there. So this murder on Susan was his third murder. In 1963, Harvey had a live-in girlfriend who he shot and killed and was sent to prison. He got released for that murder in 1984. In 1986, girlfriend number 2, 2 years after Harvey was released from prison, he ends up killing this girlfriend. Then he takes her body, stuffs it inside of a bag, and dumps it on a sidewalk in Central Park in New York. So then he goes back to prison for the murder of his second girlfriend, where he stays until he was released again in 2019. When Harvey was released from prison in 2019, that's when he began identifying himself as a woman. I'm leaving it alone. I'm leaving it alone. Since Harvey's arrest on March 4th, 2022, she has been being held without bond at the Rikers Island Correctional Complex in New York, which I hear is like a country club, so I'm sure she's having a blast in there. And even though New York does not have the death penalty, you gotta consider her age. Harvey, at 83 years old, you know, if convicted, one would assume that any sentence given is gonna be potentially a life sentence, and again, this is just an assumption. Can't really see her getting out of prison anytime soon, if ever. So that's the story of Harvey Marceline. 83-year-old transgender serial killer from New York who's already spent 50 plus years of her life in prison for already twice being convicted of murder, gets out of prison in 2019, and murders again in 2022. The police are going to look into the gaps of when Harvey was out of custody and see if they can tie any missing persons or unsolved murders to her. So that does it and wraps it up for this episode of Horror Lore. That was a fun one, wasn't it? Anyways, I appreciate you. Thank you once again for checking out another one of these videos. Please like, please comment, please share, please subscribe. I couldn't do this without you guys. If you'd like to further support this channel, ways to do so are posted in the description below this video. I can't wait to come back and tell you the next tale, because you never know. The next story I'll be telling could be about you or somebody you know. Until next time, cheers.